Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the radio signal, you can always catch us online. We appreciate that. If you haven't liked and subscribed to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel or followed me on X, I'd appreciate it. It's at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And the number today, if you want to participate in the program, it's easy 601 879 0002. And the text line is open. Got lots of great ideas for stories today. We're going to use a few of them. The number is 601 879 5060. Today is Wednesday, January the 14th, 2026. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And this is, I'm just sitting there watching all these protest videos, and this is just what popped up out of me. One who is wise and cautious turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. Take of that of what you will, ladies and gentlemen, but how you're feeling is exactly where you need to be, and you know it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Illegal immigration continues to be a big problem out there. It's a problem that, this administration has inherited from the prior administration and the prior administration before that. And I'm not talking about Trump 45. I'm talking about Obama and his administration allowing mass immigration. But it even goes back to President George W. Bush, and it even goes back to President Clinton, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. It's a very serious problem. It costs the taxpayers in the United States millions of dollars. It costs us a ton of money. And I'm speaking not just for the state of Mississippi, but for us right here in the Jackson metro area, Hinds County, Rankin County, Madison County. It's costing us millions and millions of dollars. Not only that we're paying out to these people who don't want to be here in the first place, but it's also costing us people coming back in, to all of our low-income families who depend on getting a hand up, not a handout, and getting off the system. It affects us too there in that way. You know, this is nothing new. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of laws. Right now, people would say we're a nation of illegal immigrants, and we don't really care about the laws unless it makes us feel good. And you might have something there. It's wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of stuff that's going on right now in our country. People who have waited in line, or maybe, you're fourth generation American. Maybe you go back all the way to the War of the Revolution or the Civil War. It's not right that we go ahead and screw this up, and we have to do something about it. So over the last few years, our efforts to enforce the laws of the land, the border, have been pretty poor. I can remember people complaining about in Trump's first administration about the wall being $4 billion. $4 billion looks like a pretty good deal right now, doesn't it? I think so. And unfortunately, the former vice president and then presidential candidate Kamala Harris, who was the border czar, more about her later, but I digress. She didn't do anything. She was worthless. She didn't do enough. She only took, one trip down to the border for soundbite and slogan fest, typical Democrat operating procedure, and we have to do something about it. And, since this administration took office the second time, we've made a great start, hiring hundreds and over thousands of actual border guards. My notes are a little bit screwed up right there. And they've also really worked hard on building the wall. They've also sped up deportation of criminals, right? And that's a really good thing. We need to get the criminals out. And that means if someone wants to audition to be the main character in the story and they strike a law enforcement officer, either with their hands, with a frozen water bottle or something, a vehicle, they're going to find out. So, we're going ahead and we're starting to do this. We have to finish the job of building the wall. I mean, we can all agree with that. We need strong borders. A nation without borders is not good. We need to also stop incentivizing people to come to the United States illegally. We have to start doing things. Have to start deterring these illegal immigrants from making their way into the United States illegally, taking up American jobs, not paying a decent working wage, and going ahead and undercutting, quite frankly, the lower class and the lower middle class of those jobs. That's what illegal immigration is hurting. We also, even though the judges who are enemy of the people uh, are trying to slow down deportations, we need to speed them up. And this administration has done that by incentivizing illegal aliens who are here illegally to go back home, and we're paying them to do it. And people, I understand, I hear your frustration when we talk about this, but it's actually cheaper to pay them to leave than to sit there and send out and deploy 2,000 to 3,000 ICE agents into a major mega metropolis where the people there are suffering from mass formation psychosis, and they don't understand how the American system works. All they know is that they need their SSRIs, their pills, their blue hair, and their crazy smoking type substances, or even worse, and they feel good about protesting instead of going to work and having a real job. We need to crack down on the coyotes or the smugglers coming over the South, and we have. It's almost zero. If it's not zero, it's really low. This administration has done a great job of that. We need to work with other countries, and we have. We've reached out to Canada and talked about the problems of the fentanyl and the illegal aliens coming from the north down into America, and we've also worked with Mexico. We've also beefed up our Coast Guard patrols along in the Gulf of America. So we're doing those things. Finally, and this is the really tough one here, we need to reform our legal immigration system to make it more fair and equitable for a more effective plan that allows people who need to be or who want to come to America, who want to assimilate to our views, to our values, to our way of life, they get in. But these people, like coming from Somalia and everything, who are here just to steal and pillage our resources and our wealth, they need to get the heck out. They need to get the heck out, you know? And if we don't do that, if this Congress doesn't do that, well, then we are in some serious trouble. But I know you guys don't want to hear from me. You'd rather hear from the president. So, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States of America.
Our nation was built by immigrants. People from every region of the world have made lasting and important contributions to our society. We support legal immigration, but we won't tolerate immigration by people whose first act is to break the law as they enter our country. We must continue to do everything we can to strengthen our borders, enforce our laws, and remove illegal aliens from our country. As I said in my State of the Union address, we are a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. And it is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years. Now, let me talk a little bit about increasing deportations. Our plan will triple the number of criminal and other deportable aliens deported since 1993. Every day, illegal aliens show up in court who are charged. Some are guilty, and surely some are innocent. Some go to jail, and some don't. But they're all illegal aliens. And whether they're innocent or guilty of the crimes they're charged with in court, they're still here illegally, and they should be sent out of the country. If they're sentenced to jail, they should go to jail, but then after their term's over, they should be removed from the United States. And when there's a plea bargain, I want deportation to be part of the deal. It simply doesn't make any sense for us to have illegal aliens in our custody, in our courts, and then let them go back to living here illegally. That's wrong, and we should stop it. We have to face the fact that we've got another big problem, and that is the backlog. There is actually a backlog in the deportation of illegal aliens of over 100,000. That's 100,000 people we have identified who are still awaiting the completion of their deportation hearings. I have instructed the Justice Department to get rid of this backlog. If it takes extra judges, we'll ask Congress for the money to get them. We cannot justify continuing to have this large number of illegal aliens in our country simply because our court system won't process them. We also have hundreds of thousands of people who have been ordered to leave our country, who then disappear back into the population. I have instructed the Justice Department, and particularly the Immigration and Naturalization Service, to come up with a plan in which we can cooperate with the states to identify these people and move them out as well. Our country was built by immigrants, but it was built also by people who obeyed the law. We must be able to control our borders. We must uphold respect for our laws. We're cracking down on this huge problem we found when I got here, and we're going to keep working at it until we do much, much better. Thanks for listening.
You all thought I was going to quote Trump, didn't you? Be honest, be truthful. Oh, the phone calls are already coming in. Let's go to it. Let's go to it. Go ahead. You're on the air. Or not. You all thought I was going to go ahead and quote Trump, but this is William Jefferson Clinton. Back in the day, May 6th, 1995, I believe. 1995, I believe. I think it's actually, yeah, May 6th, 1995. It's actually fascinating to me. Democrats, where are you? This is a Democrat speaking. What's happened to you? What's happened to your party? I thought we loved America. I thought we were all for making America a stronger, better place. It was true back in 1995. It's true today. We've got to crack down on the crime, right? The fraud that's being perpetrated upon the taxpayer of the United States of America. Trillions of dollars. Trillions. And then we send in one of our most esteemed legal immigrants turned citizen, Elon Musk, and open up Doge. We find all the corruption, and Congress won't even vote to turn it off. You know, there's a bill going up into Congress today to turn off funding the Taliban in Afghanistan. It's sponsored by Representative Eli Crane. Let me get to it here real quick. It's called Defund NED, the National Endowment for Democracy. And see, that's how Washington works. That's how this all works. They give it a name like the National Endowment for Democracy. Who could vote against democracy? It's an endowment for democracy. Well, you put that's like lipstick on a pig, nose ring on a pig. And Eli Crane, if you don't know, he was a SEAL. I think he's conventional. I don't think he went to the next step. But if you make it through BUDS and you're a SEAL and you make a couple combat deployments, you're far exceed 0.01% of all Americans. So we are grateful and thankful for Representative Eli Crane's service to our country. The National Endowment for Democracy was established in 1983 with the stated mission of promoting democracy abroad. However, the organization quickly evolved into a key contributor to global censorship campaigns and domestic propaganda. Representative Eli Crane introduced an amendment to prevent taxpayer dollars from funding these activities that oppose the U.S. Constitution and American values. I tagged Congressman Michael Guest in a post today, just saying I hope he supports this amendment. And maybe you want to contact your congressman too. You know, this show is all about empowering you, the listener, to be more involved in politics, whether that be federal, state, or local. And when it comes to this illegal immigration and defunding all this stuff that's causing all these problems that we're having around the world, uh, we have to take a stand. And if we can't stand up in our own backyard, if we can't make that stand with just people who are here locally, our local officials, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. A little bit different of an opening monologue to the Andrew Gosser show, but I wanted to take it down that path. Can't do it all the time, but when the situation fits itself, it's always good to throw a little curveball in there. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back. You know, it's really hard to watch what's going on in our country, paying attention to the news media, the politicians. You got to have good vision. And vision only comes from having a good pair of glasses if you wear them. And Agear Optical, Bruce Brennett and his team over there, located at 2630 Highway 80 in Pearl, are just the people that give you the set of glasses you need. And we are grateful and thankful that Bruce goes ahead and sponsors the program. His shop is open from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're looking for a set of glasses, don't go to the big box store. Keep it here local. We all like to keep it local. Keep it right here in Pearl. iGearOptical.com. That's iGearOptical.com. Let's get back to the show. We were talking about illegal immigration and how the Democrats have fallen, but there's more to this. And for this, I'm going to ground news. This came out yesterday after the show. But if I asked you, how long do you think Somalis have been allowed to come into the nation? Would you say 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years, maybe more, maybe 30 years? How about temporary protected status has helped immigrants from outstanding countries facing safety issues like Somalia and has been available to Somalians since 1991, ladies and gentlemen. I'm 53 now. I was 19 then. That is a long, long time that we've had this open gate, these open doors into our country, into our representative republic, into our economy. And it's just like anything in life, isn't it? It's almost like a credit card bill. You know you got to pay it, but you just throw it in the garbage. You don't worry about it. Comes the next month, you don't worry about it. You throw it away. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, after 5 months, you've got a problem. 3 decades later, we've got an immigration problem, specifically with the country of Somalia. The fraud is absolutely devastating. And this is coming from the American Tribune. In a much needed move, the Trump administration has completely ended temporary protected status for Somalia effective 17 March 2026. And I don't know why this popped up in my feed, but that's when he put it out there. Affecting 2,471 Somali nationals in the US, including about 600 in Minnesota. And you might say, Andy, that's not a lot, but we have to start somewhere. And ending that TPS status is the way to start getting them and their families that have been born here out of the system. One of the compliments, I do have a very liberal listener, and I really appreciate this person. I don't know if it's a male or a female, but he or she made the point, hey, they were born here. They're naturalized American citizens. No, they're not. And that's why we're going to the Supreme Court, because in any other country in the world, if you are born there, that does not make you a citizen of that country. If you are born in Mexico and you're from Honduras, you're not Mexican, you're Honduran. If you are born in the United Kingdom, but where your family citizenship is in Algeria, you're not a UK citizen, you're an Algerian. Why is it that it's only the United States that has this absurd law? People will say, Andy, didn't you read the 14th Amendment? I have, and we've talked about it in depth. How that 14th Amendment was directly responsible to take care of the slaves who were brought here against their will. Against their will. They needed to be protected, and they are, and we continue to protect them this day through the 14th Amendment. And granted, the 14th Amendment has grown into a lot of other things too, much like many of our amendments have. As lawyers get smarter and courts get more liberal or more conservative, depending on your point of view, amendments tend to have a little bit of wiggle room. Now, if you're someone who's more of a traditionalist like me, I say the amendment means what it means at the time it was passed. And that's a big sticking point with a lot of judges and with a lot of liberals, because they want to make it a living, breathing document, which is just a absolute load of rubbish. And when we sit there and look at how this current judiciary in the United States, whether it be the local and state courts, whether it be the federal courts, the appellate courts, and even the Supreme Court, it's pretty damning. I think yesterday, I'm looking for it here in my notes. I just want to go back to this because I feel like it was really important. It was a chart on all the different court rulings, either in support of Trump's policies or against. So in the district courts, that is the lowest level of courts. Again, that's 25% are for Trump and 75% of the rulings are against Trump. And then when you get to the appellate court, about 51% of the time they agree with the Trump side of the case, or 49% against the Trump side of the case. And then out of those that are against the Trump side of the case that go to the Supreme Court, there's been 24 rulings, and out of those 24 rulings, 88% have been for Trump and 12% have been against Trump. So you can see the data is clear. And again, this is been reposted on my Twitter account. If you go to Andrew Gosser, you can clearly see it there. And I do see some of the people asking for the President Clinton speech on illegal immigration. Well, now it's there too. And I didn't do this in the past segment, but I wanted to, this came from Maze Moore on January 12th at Maze Moore, Mazemoore. It's important that we go ahead and credit our audio sources when we get them. And I don't always do the greatest job of doing that, but I did there, so hoorah. So these judges are just off the chain. And we're going to take a break about a minute early this segment, but when we get back, we are going to have two prime examples of why it's so important to have cogent, intelligent people who are filled with wisdom on the Supreme Court and not a DEI hire. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Fox News commentary with Brian Kilmeade next.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
Here's Brian Kilmeade.
If you thought what was happening in Minnesota was bad, just wait. You got new allegations emerging in states across the country. Allegations of fraud now in more than a dozen states and likely to grow. The Department of Health and Human Services freezing $10 billion in funds for federal child care and family assistance program in 5 of those states already. There's a common theme here running through all of this. A significant portion appears centered around the Somali community. All this is Minnesota's Somali fraud scandal hit a fever pitch with demands for Governor Walz and that horrible mayor, Mayor Fry, to resign. Money meant for children, disabled adults, instead spent on luxury homes, on vacations, expensive cars, and jewelry. They all should be giving it back, and they should go to jail. But Minnesota may turn out to be just the tip of the iceberg.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
If you've had an accident, remember Clinton Body Shop. We work for you, not your insurance company. Don't be misled by someone telling you that you will have to pay more than your deductible. Our shops hold multiple certifications from the makers of today's vehicles. We are the longest running I-CAR Gold Class certified repair facility in Mississippi. We know how to repair your vehicle, and we will work with your insurance company on your behalf. In Clinton and in Richland, we work for you. We take pride in perfection.
Pure Air Consultants offers services on your heating and cooling system. It's time to get your heating system serviced. We offer replacement, service, maintenance agreements. It's important because if you have a gas heating system, it can produce carbon monoxide. So you want to make sure you have your system serviced and cleaned to protect your family. You want to make sure your system is safe.
Attorney General for fraud. He's a fantastic young guy. He's so impassioned to do this properly. We intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country. Think of that Ilan Omar. She lives in Somalia. They don't have a government. They don't have a military. They don't have police. They don't have anything. All they have is murder and robbing ships, bringing in ships, pirates. That's stopped. Same missile, ping. That's the end of them. It's amazing how that can stop corruption. Those missiles, they never miss, The same one, exactly the same one. But think of it, she comes from a...
Yep. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Well, yesterday, there were a lot of arguments made before the Supreme Court. And of course, our girl, Ketanji Brown Jackson, had to get into the mix. She just had to get into the mix. This is audio coming from Fox News from inside the Supreme Court. As you know, there are no cameras allowed inside the Supreme Court. But this needs to be heard because this is one of 9 Americans who are making decisions that impact the rule of law that governs all of us. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to hurt. But if we cannot come to an agreement, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that this woman has no business being on the Supreme Court, well, then we continue to go under the mass formation psychosis that is completely sweeping the United States of America. 3, 2, 1, go for it.
Classification. And so to the extent that you have an individual who says what is happening in this law is that it is treating someone who is transgender, but who does not have, because of the medical interventions and the things that have been done, who does not have the same threat to physical competition and safety and all of the reasons that the state puts forward, that's actually a different class, says this individual. So you're not treating the class the same, and you're not, how do you respond to that? In other words, the as-applied challenge essentially redefines the class, or one could think of it as that. And so what's wrong with that?
Does anybody understand what the heck she's talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, this is an associate judge on the U.S. Supreme Court. And she has completely lost the plot. Now, she's going to vote to the left every time, regardless. She's an auto vote, unlike conservatives on the U.S. Supreme Court, who you would like to think were an auto vote for the right, but they're not. Sometimes Justice Gorsuch goes the wrong way. In my opinion, sometimes Amy Coney Barrett goes the wrong way, especially in some of the big cases. You know, they all have their little idiosyncrasies. There are very few Clarence Thomases or Justice Alitos. There certainly isn't an Anton Scalia anymore. But, you know, this is what we're dealing with. But wait, it gets better.
That, number one, and how do you square that with our holdings in Caban, which Lair later described in this way? In other words, Lair suggested that Caban was establishing that as applied challenges of this nature do exist.
Certainly
Okay, so this is the Solicitor General, Alan Michael Hurst. He is completely befuddled, not because of the wisdom in her pointed, directed question, but how she just threw it's not even like a shotgun shell. It's just like stuff being flown all over the place and hoping something lands.
take the second question first.
Yes.
Caban says nothing about as applied. I know that Lair says later this was an as applied case, but simply reading Caban, it does not say that. It simply applies intermediate.
No, I understand, but those two cases were in juxtaposition.
Do you hear the exasperation in her case? Because even though she spread this question all over the place, he still managed to compare the two and point out that, you know what? Girls should only play in girls' sports. Boys should only play in boys' sports. This is what this argument is over. But I continue because it gets really great here at the end.
Position with one another,
Yes.
and Lair comes out the way it does, distinguishing Caban on the basis that it's an as-applied challenge, and we and Lair have a facial challenge, and it's basically the same facts. So if you're right, that those two cases can't come out the way they do.
I don't think so, Your Honor. Again, Lair was actually briefed as a standing argument of maybe you might be able to argue that this law is overbroad, but you individually are not in the overbroad part, and therefore you don't get to challenge it. The court didn't use standing language, like express standing language in the opinion, but that is the logic of the opinion.
Mr. Hurst.
Yeah.
And that is Mr. Justice, Associate Justice Neil Gorsuch saying, enough of this nonsense. And he comes in and completely cuts off Ketanji Brown Jackson because she's just an unmitigated disaster. And so when I go back and I talk about saying, you know, the American people, regular people here in Mississippi, we are so disgruntled with our justice system. It's not just on the prosecution side or the lawmaker side. It's in our judges themselves. And we are so sick and tired of being told that we just have to follow the law, that we just have to go down this route, that if we just comply with the law, we'll be okay. No, that's not right. And I know what some of you are thinking. I promise I'll get back to that in a second. If you just comply with what Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying, it's going to be okay. Girls can be in, or boys can be in girls sports. Girls can be in boys sports. It doesn't matter what sex you're born with. It just matters on how you feel, your gender fluidity. That's not how it works. This all goes back to natural law, what we were founded upon. And there's no way that boys should be in girls' sports, men should be in women's sports. And you don't really see too often women being in boys' sports or girls being in boys' sports and women being in men's sports. Why is that? Why is it that you can have a group of 40 and 50-year-old men playing a professional, a sporting event with a bunch of retired soccer players playing against the U.S. women's national team and get smoked 10-0? And these guys are drinking beer every day, beer guts. Wrexham, if you follow football, the Wrexham retirees went out and whooped up on the best female soccer team on the planet, 10-0. They didn't even finish the game. It was called off. It was in the sport, they call it abandoned. And here you have our Supreme Court wasting valuable time on something as trivial as this. Now, it's not trivial that we don't have this adjudicated the right way. It's just a shame that so many people on the left have fallen for this mass formation psychosis. I mean, and if you, for us Gen Xers and us early millennials, this is just like playing StarCraft and the Zerg. If you've ever played video games, they just swarm en masse, much like they're doing in Minneapolis right now. They just swarm en masse, and they're not coming from a good place. I've watched entirely way too many videos in the past 3 days about protesters acting poorly, ICE agents and law enforcement officers acting diligently, and it's not even debatable. And they say, "Well, we're angry, we're upset." Well, aren't we all? But you don't see the right out there burning stuff down. You don't see the right out there doing these things. What you do see is one side acting behaviorally and the other side saying, "Come on, we gotta hold it together." That's the fabric that keeps this nation going forward. And I'm just very fearful, ladies and gentlemen, incredibly fearful that if we lose that respect for one another, we're not gonna be able to go down, too much further in the United States as we know it. Things could possibly change, and that could always happen, but, it's definitely our justice system is just completely out of whack. I personally think it goes back to the cell phone, quite frankly. Chris Hinkle texts in, he goes, "Interesting way to attempt to debate. By interesting, I mean demonstratedly limited skills, intelligence, and ability. Justice Brown is a DEI hire." And some of you might say, "Yes, she is," and other people might say, "No, she's not." Former President Biden said so. The primary criteria was to choose a black female. Have a blessed day. Brother Chris, I always appreciate you out there listening. It's great to have you as part of the listening audience, because anytime we have any of these law enforcement issues, we can go to a subject matter expert with over 25 years of experience in handling these types of situations. And still to this day, Chris has offered to debate constitutionally several lefties, but they won't debate him. Maybe that's just his upbringing through the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations and then the FBI, or maybe it's just that the left don't want to debate. Maybe it's just that the left want to go around and sit there and say their things on social media and then turn off all comments and close the DMs. Not here at WYAB, not here at the Andrew Gosser Show or any of the other great local talent. Clay Edwards in the morning, Chip Matthews in the morning, Lindsey Beckham after my show, and of course, from 4 to 6 every day, Radio Strongman, Kim Wade. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take a commercial break. We will be right back.
Vans Comics Cards and Games is your local sports cards and memorabilia store, plus Pokemon, board games, comics, and more. Get in the game, make history, and own it at Vans Comics Cards and Games, Pear Orchard Road in Ridgeland, and at vansccg.com. Better ingredients, better pizza with a better website. Papa John's and papajohns.com team up for the best experience. Save more with Papa Rewards and all the best deals. Order today and enjoy the new specials and Papa's pairings at papajohns.com and at locations throughout the metro. Malone is a company in motion, striving daily to improve the way the roofing industry operates and is perceived. a leader in commercial and residential roofing, metal walls, and maintenance. Malone means the highest quality materials delivered with expertise workmanship from acclaim or construction. At Malone, you found your roofing and metal walls partner. Malone has proven for generations there is nothing we can't accomplish. Protecting people and what matters to you. More info at ecmalone.com. Delicious food and a relaxing atmosphere combine to make the best place for sports fans and foodie fans to watch the game and just hang out. Capitol Grill of Jackson. Of course they've got the games, but food, oh my goodness. Mouth-watering po' boys, fish, steaks, appetizers, and a specialty pizza menu. Kitchen opens at 5 Monday through Thursday and 11 Friday through Sunday. And happy hours are daily at Capitol Grill. Also enjoy the all-new Tuesday night and karaoke on Wednesday and Friday nights from 8 till midnight with DJ Money Mon. Capitol Grill, DeVille Plaza in Jackson.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
A new year means a new you with a new ride from Mazda of Jackson with our extended super sale. Chart your new course in a 2025 CX-5 before they're gone. Price to move with 0.9% financing for 72 months with approved credit. And see why it's the compact crossover that's built for you. Plus, get 1 year maintenance included on your new vehicle purchase. It's time to make the resolution to choose Mazda today. Shop online at MazdaJackson.com or visit Mazda Jackson on I-55 Frontage Road.
In the heart of Flora, there's a place where love, laughter, and comfort come with every cut, color, and style. At our family-owned salon, you're not just a client. You're part of the family. Come share a smile with Shelby, Henley, and Rhonda, ready to make you feel beautiful inside and out. Whether it's a fresh new look or a little time to relax, we've got the chair waiting for you. So step in and feel at home. Find us on Facebook at In Style Salon Flora.
Bank Plus makes it easier to bank. With extended drive-through hours plus 24/7 online and mobile banking, we're here when you need us. Lost your debit card? Get a new one instantly at any Bank Plus location. No waiting for the mail. And interactive teller machines offer drive-up personal service 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturdays. Your bank, your plus. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC.
When it comes to protecting what matters most, experience counts, and the Rusty Healy Agency has been serving Madison and the rest of the Jackson Metro for over 35 years. Local agent Landon Thompson is keeping that trusted tradition going strong. As a local independent agent, he's not locked into one provider. The Rusty Healy Agency can shop the top insurance companies to find the best fit for you. And everyone knows that the Rusty Healy Agency and Landon Thompson offer top quality local customer service. Contact Landon today at 601-856-3681.
And we are back at the Andrew Gospel Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And again, talking about the fraud that's happening all throughout the federal government that's being funneled into these states. Every once in a while, I get sent one of these stories, and this just came in over the break, and I'm like, you know what? Let's run with it. This is coming from the California Globe, of all places. The San Francisco Public Health Department is supporting, Globe Grievance. San Francisco Health Agency gives free booze to homeless alcoholics. Free booze. I wonder if any of our great sponsors here on WYAB can somehow get hooked up to where they can supply San Francisco with that free booze. The San Francisco Public Health Department is supporting alcoholics by managing their daily consumption, claiming it leads to self-sufficiency. Think about, is this coming from the political right or the political left? That's the first question we got to ask ourselves. Political right or political left? The San Francisco Department of Public Health gives free shots of alcohol to homeless street alcoholics and addicts under the guise of harm reduction, ostensibly hoping to keep them out of emergency rooms or needing emergency services. taxpayers fund over $16 million worth of liquor annually and $9 million for salaries for the distribution or for salaries and benefits for the people who are distributing those programs. And last year, the nonprofit who takes in all this money said they served 55 clients. $90,909 per client for a program that gives free alcohol to the homeless. What kind of nation are we living in? You can't make this garbage up. It's insanity. We literally cannot afford it anymore. When we're basically going up $18 billion in debt over a weekend, and our congressmen that are in Washington, D.C. right now, our congressmen and our congresswomen who are in Washington, D.C. right now, refuse to act into law all the DOJ recommendations. It's almost like we need to win the midterms and then have a DOJ 2.0 and just wipe out all of this government funding. We're going to find out that we have a lot of really strong industries in this country, whether that be the technology sector, the construction sector, the hard things, the tangible things, the things you can produce, the things that you have actual tangible value. And then we're going to find out there's a lot of organizations and businesses in this country that are truly rotten to the core, that they're not what they're supposed to be, that they don't provide any real value to the community that which they serve. Clearly, this organization here, and during the break, I'll tweet it. But clearly, this organization here doesn't have any real substantive value to that community. This is just a high-paid publicly funded jobs program for the well-connected. It's a good grift if you can get it, said an unknown person. Community Forward, that managed the alcohol program set up by SF Public Health about 5 years ago during COVID, claims it will keep the street alcoholics out of local jails and hospitals and emergency rooms. Doesn't that sound like modern medicine today? Just keep them drunk. Just keep them medicated. Just keep them dependent on their SSRIs or whatever it is that they're called into support. We are in strange times. You know, I'm talking to a lot of the old graybeards around, the old hats, the people who've been around more than 70, 80 years. People cannot remember a time like this. It's truly crazy. The inmates are in charge of the asylum. And we on the outside thinking that by us going out and voting for these people that we're going to get some change, we're kind of mistaken a little bit, especially at the federal level, but not at the local level. Speaking of which, right now they're having a hearing in the state capitol about public school education and whether or not to fund private schooling. It's going to be really interesting to see how that pops out. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump has warned of very strong action if Iran hangs imprisoned demonstrators. A human rights group says more than 10,000 people have been arrested. More than 3,400 have been killed in the crackdown on protests. CBS's Nancy Cordes.
One of the challenges that White House officials told me they had is that it's very difficult even to get an accurate count of the death toll in Iran as it grows. Obviously, a lot of confusion inside the country. And so they are relying on what they're hearing from the State Department, what they're hearing from news outlets to figure out just how dire the situation is.
Well, CBS's Linda Kenyon reports on a White House meeting about Greenland.
Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland meeting behind closed doors are focusing on President Trump's declaration that the U.S. will take Greenland either by buying it or by using military force. In his latest post, the president declared total U.S. control of Greenland is the only option.
A day after the Clintons called a Republican effort to get them to testify about Jeffrey Epstein invalid and illegal, Hillary Clinton did not appear today on Capitol Hill. And Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett says a contempt of Congress move is next.
I think the Clintons have had a history of arrogance, and they're going to flaunt the law as much as they can.
Attorney General Bondi says the search of a Washington Post...
We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust. Okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case, but you'd never know. Let me just tell you, you wouldn't have this job.
But he was not aware of naked underage images generated by Grok, the artificial intelligence chatbot that he owns. He insists that the chatbot refuses to produce anything that is illegal. Separately, a coalition of women's groups, tech watchdogs, and progressive activists is calling on Google and Apple to remove the social media site X and Grok from their app stores.
Well, 4 astronauts will leave the space station a month early later today because one has a medical issue. CBS's Michael Wallace.
NASA hasn't identified the affected crew member or the medical issue. Former astronaut Dr. Scott Parazinski served on the ISS.
We have a limited amount of diagnostic capability on board the ISS, so it sounds like NASA's doing the right conservative thing by bringing this crew home.
The crew is set to undock from the ISS just after 5 p.m. Eastern Time and splash down early tomorrow morning off the coast of California.
Wall Street, the Dow is down 270. This is CBS News.
Real crimes, real justice. Follow and listen to 48 Hours on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It's unreal what it does to you. In testing, Viagra AGV crushed every other ED pill. It destroyed them all. And now, 9 out of 10 urologists are recommending Viagra AGV over any other ED pill. Every man alive needs to try this new Viagra AGV super pill at least once. Then you'll know why men are going crazy over it. So if you want to have the most incredible night of your life, you can't miss this. Go to scoreblue.com and try it while supplies last.
News and weather brought to you this hour by Flora Animal Hospital, where we treat your pets like our own. Visit our website, floraanimalhospital.com.
Quick work by the grand jury. You have a 20% chance for rain by this afternoon with a high of 57. The low tonight will be 27, and with the clouds on the way out, you do have a chance for frost by the morning. The high Thursday is 44, and it's sunny. Friday, it's up to 60. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis. The Hinds County Grand Jury indicted the 19-year-old accused of burning the Congregation Beth Israel Synagogue Saturday, and District Attorney Jody Owen says that comes with a hate crime enhancement. The possible penalty for that is 30 years in prison. Court documents say Spencer Pittman of Madison switched his car tag before going to Beth Israel. He bought the gas at a convenience store in Ridgeland, says the prosecution. A log truck and a Ford F-250 hit on Highway 16 in Madison County, and the result was fatal, says the Highway Patrol. The driver of the Ford, 73-year-old Jimmy Keithan of Pearl, died at the scene, and his passenger was airlifted to UMMC. The driver of the log truck was not seriously hurt. That happened about 6 Monday night.
A man who was accused by police of unlawfully shooting someone who was in the woods behind his house has been charged with aggravated assault, say Jackson police. That happened Tuesday on Mary Edith Street. Police say 32-year-old Quandrick Walton told the person to come out, and when he didn't, Walton began shooting, hitting the person in the foot. Dalyamara Hall has reopened, and just in time. It opened Tuesday with a ribbon cutting attended by the city's top brass, and tonight is the first scheduled event, the book tour with former Vice President Kamala Harris. Bob Dylan is set to perform in April as one of many acts booked for the season. Not quite the cheapest in the country, but close. Mississippi's gas average at $2.38. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people.
Welcome back to the second hour of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're streaming on Rumble, X, YouTube, and at WYAB.com. Please like and subscribe and follow me there. Also follow our great sponsors of the show. We appreciate that. And I also appreciate a follow on X. It's just at Andrew Gosser, ANDREWGASSER. Appreciate that greatly. Phone number, if you want to be part of the show today, is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. Today is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. We are here to equip the saints. That's our standard mission statement right there, to equip the saints. One who is wise and cautious turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. And we are seeing a lot of carelessness and recklessness. In kind of keeping with that, and you follow me here, you'll see where it's going. How are you doing on your New Year's resolutions? It's the annual Battle of the Bulge in America. Local gyms are experiencing a boom in membership and activity. As my friends who work out all the time tell me, the worst 3 weeks of the year are the first 3 weeks of January, where everybody's busting it. And I wish I could get back in the gym. I think my gym days are about over. Not that I don't get out and exercise and walk around and do stuff, but just lifting, especially leg day. Man, I tell you what, I miss leg day. My daughter asked me for my leg day workout, and she was commenting, maybe it was last month, right before Christmas. She goes, "Dad, I just wish one time we could go to the gym together and do one of your leg workouts." I'm like, "Oh, you can say that now." But my troops didn't like it, leg day with Captain Gosser. That was a lot of fun. We had fun. You know, you have to have fun with your New Year's resolution, with your weight loss journey, or with whatever journey it is. Perhaps you've got financial goals. Perhaps you've got education goals or spiritual goals. Where are you with that right now on the 14th day of January, 2026? I know for me personally, I'm doing pretty good. Had definitely the last month of 2025 was a rough one. For no fault of my own, it's just difficult in the first couple weeks of 2026. But I'll tell you what, being able to get right and sleep right, get a full night's rest, get up nice and early, get my prayer on, get my show prep in at my house, and then I get to the station a little bit early, which is one of my New Year's goals, is to make sure that I get to the station at least 2 hours before I get on air. Not because I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I have a really good idea because I start the show prep the night before. But just sitting there talking to make sure that get to talk to Matt, get to hear what Clay and Chip have to say, and make sure that, I'm providing the best show I can. And New Year's resolutions are one of those things where we all make them. Even if we say, I'm not having any New Year's resolutions, there's still things you want to improve upon in 2026 or as the new year comes into fruition. But how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'd like to know how my listeners are doing. Some of you are saying, "Oh, already failed." Well, you just failed for a day, dude. You can go back tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. It's like 1 Thessalonians 5:10. Continue to encourage each other and lift one another up, just like you already are doing. I don't want to be one of these Debbie Downers, but you know what is a Debbie Downer? If you are a United States Secret Service agent and you get caught by a honeypot. Yep. Everybody's talking about how they don't like these private investigators, these private journalists. They feel like it's not good for society. I'm telling you what James O'Keefe is doing at Oh My God Media is absolutely incredible. And they've got the video to prove it. And I don't necessarily want to play the video, but as a Gen Xer, it just kind of makes me think about where have we gone to educate our people who need to be able to keep a secret. Us military people understand, when we get read into a program, when we get given a security clearance to go into said program, we were taught about this. We were specifically told about this. Do they not do that at the Secret Service anymore? Do they do this at the United States in the United States military? What is the training? How is it that James O'Keefe can continue to get these stories about JD Vance, about Secret Service agents or violating their oath of office, giving direct location and details of the vice president's movements? My goodness, it is one of those things where I'm sitting here looking at it thinking, holy smokes. And this is coming from Fox News. A U.S. Secret Service agent employee assigned to Vice President J.D. Vance protective detail has been placed on administrative leave. No kidding. Administrative leave. After an undercover video released by an independent journalist, at least Fox News mentions James O'Keefe's name, allegedly shows the agent leading sensitive security information, the agency confirmed to Fox News. Now, I'm not trying to, put a damper on any of James O'Keefe's sting operations, but to everybody listening, if the first words out of someone you are attracted to are, "Can I see your ID again?" That should be a clue. In the Air Force, we call it a clue bird. That you might be in a honeypot situation. And for anybody who doesn't know what a honeypot situation is, it's just where it's a very attractive female tries to seduce somebody, usually a male, to go ahead and divulge state secrets. The Chinese do this all the time. The Russians do this all the time. If you watch the Sean Ryan show, he had a whole episode on it about a Russian spy. That was her whole job. And it's pretty brutal. The United States Secret Service is investigating, said the employee's security clearance, and has been suspended and access to agency facilities and systems revoked as the incident is investigated. Deputy Director Matthew Quinn told Fox News in a statement the U.S. Secret Service has no tolerance for any behavior. So let's think about this. Think about what our country is going through right now. We know we're facing a threat from the political left on the outside of the government, but what's inside the government is more scary to me. This guy had a firearm guarding the vice president of the United States. Brother JD is one heartbeat away from assuming the duties. We don't want that to happen, but we're grateful that JD's there and not Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. That's a whole nother story. But this guy is sitting right there with the clearance. How are they finding out about the movements of JD Vance? Is it this guy alone, or there are other people? How do we even check to see who's legitimate and who has serious intent to harm the vice president or the president of the United States? Or how about Secretary Rubio or Secretary Hegseth? You know, the Secret Service has had a long tradition of guarding important officials in the United States, and for the most part, they've been successful. There have been 2 catastrophic failures, actually 3. 2.5 if how you wanna consider Reagan. But definitely JFK and President Trump's attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania come to mind. And as I was researching this story, there was this video of this local cop saying, "I told the Secret Service to go on the tower. I told Secret Service to go on the tower," and they didn't. And it kinda rang with me a little bit because, as a military guy, I wanna know that I passed on the world's greatest Air Force to great people. And I've never in my mind had any thought of version or treason. I had no desire to do any of that. And yet we're finding more and more of these cases of people inside the Secret Service, inside Capitol Police, inside different agencies. The US Attorney's Office in Minneapolis had 6 attorneys resign over not prosecuting the ICE officer. You can go ahead and investigate it all you want, but we had Chris Hinkle on, and he broke it down perfectly. She backed up, hit one police officer, put the car in forward, drove, hit another one, and she got shot. The rules of following lawful orders from police officers stands. Chris Rock education will not lead you astray. You will not get shot if you follow that video. Just as a sidebar, I did try to edit out all the curse words in it, and it's not as funny, it's not as good. And if I'm being truthful with myself, even though what he's saying is truthful and everything, that's just a different Andrew Gosser. The guy who originally started laughing at that is not the same guy sitting behind the microphone today. But we can say that, if you're being pulled over, it does you no harm, especially if you're not doing anything wrong. You're being pulled over, follow the commands. And again, going back to today's proverb, one who is wise and cautious turns away from evil. That lady in Minnesota was not wise and cautious. She decided to act a fool and be reckless and careless. And what are these lawful observers now popping up everywhere? I've never heard that term before. I'm a lawful observer. Duh. We're all walking around. We can all be lawfully observing anything that we want to observe. I didn't know that lawful observers can go ahead and blow whistles and use microphones to blast into people's ears that they don't agree with. I don't call that lawfully observing. I call that antagonization. And that's exactly what they're doing. And until we get to a point in the United States of America where we say that this kind of behavior is no longer tolerated, I don't understand how somebody over the age of 23 can be doing something like that. If you're below 23 and you're still going to college, I'm not saying that colleges are maturing our young adults into the model citizens that they need to be, but there's still some growing up there. I mean, I would have never acted that way as a 15-year-old. Why is that? Why is it that our young adults today cannot take criticism? They cannot actively function in a work environment, in a meaningful way. Most of them can't, especially those who are out there at the protests. I mean, who's paying for all this? Anyways, that's what I want to talk about the U.S. Secret Service in Minnesota, our vice president. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Right back.
1039 WYAB.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins of Home Care Plus in Ridgeland. We are a proud carrier of Abena Premium Incontinence products. Abena has the most absorbency available, making changes and leaks less likely. After 7 years as a seller, I can tell you these products are amazing and worth every penny to quality of life for patient and caregiver. And we ship all incontinence products as well. So please come see us at Home Care Plus in Ridgeland for all the incontinence needs of you or your family member. That's Home Care Plus in Ridgeland.
Your roof is constantly exposed to the elements, battling dirt, algae, and stains. But with Watkins Construction and Roofing Roof Wash Service, you can keep it looking like new. A proprietary rooficide treatment is EPA approved, safe, and guaranteed to prevent algae from coming back for at least 2 years. No harsh chemicals, no damage, no black streaks. Just a clean, beautiful roof that lasts. Call Watkins Construction and Roofing at 601-966-8233 or visit nomoreroofstains.com today.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
Getting a new prescription filled in your eyeglasses may not get rid of your headaches. It may not be the prescription at all. If your eyeglasses are not custom fit and properly adjusted to you, that could be the source of your headaches. At Eye Gear Optical, we verify the prescription in your lenses and the custom fitting of your frames to ensure you have the most comfortable and visually accurate eyeglasses every time. We fit eyeglasses to you, your lifestyle, and your budget. Eye Gear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl and eyegearoptical.com.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind my own business? What's that supposed to mean?
No, I was just thinking about all of the news of tax changes, insurance changes, regulations that are being passed down to business owners. I don't have the time to keep growing and to keep up with changing payroll regulations.
I know. It seems like all I do is handle employee-related problems.
You know, I hear People Lease can help.
How can they help?
People Lease can handle our payroll, taxes, employee benefits, and workers' compensation. They even offer an affordable and customizable 401k program and a 24/7 online human resources support center for all my HR needs.
Think of all the time we'll save letting People Lease handle our payroll and benefits administration. I'll be busy growing my business and letting People Lease take care of the rest.
Sounds like a good business plan with People Lease.
Let People Lease mind your business so you can mind your own business. Call now 601-987-3025. That's 601-987-3025. Or visit freepayrollquotes.com for your free quote.
Venable Glass is your local glass expert, offering residential, automotive, and commercial glass. Venable Glass can do it all. What sets Venable Glass apart from the rest? Unmatched reliability and customer service. Don't forget, tell your insurance company that you want to use Venable Glass. And remember, you do have a choice. Let Venable Glass work hard to earn your business. Call Venable's Ridgeland or Brandon locations today for a free estimate or visit venableglass.com.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Cork and Door Company has been providing quality residential garage and commercial overhead door products to Mississippians for over 50 years. Cork and Door is a supplier of garage door parts and services such as LiftMaster, commercial and residential door operators, as well as Clopay, sectional commercial and residential doors, Asta, commercial sheet and rolling steel doors, and Cornell, rolling steel and shutters, with many in stock for the same day pickup. CorkandDoor.com. That's CorkandDoor.com.
Yeah, you are back on the Andrew Cosby Show right now on 103.9 WYAB. We're moving and grooving. Stream is up and running. And we've talked about Minnesota and our judicial system enough. How about our education system? I always have different RSS feeds going through, and not everything tickles my fancy, but every once in a while something comes up, and it allows me to go ahead and talk about discrimination and racism. And I realize it's a really hot topic here in Mississippi. It's not necessarily as talked about in other places around the United States, but we have a history and we need to talk about it. So listen to this. Professor sanctioned for alleged discrimination against white students. And it's really interesting that this pops up right now as Indiana University is about to play for the national championship. One of their professors is apparently in some hot water. An Indiana University professor created a hostile educational environment for white students in his class through his comments made over the course of a semester, according to a recent decision by Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Carrie Doherty. Marcus Kroom, an assistant professor at the School of Education, was accused by a former student of making repeated negative comments about white people throughout one of his courses during the spring of 2024. Well, let's just talk about this as someone who taught in a schoolhouse and teaches to this day. Discrimination and racism is never right. It wasn't right back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even if it happened in the 80s, 90s, and it's not right today. It's wrong to discriminate basis of race because someone's black, just as it's wrong to discriminate on basis of race if someone is white, just as someone who's discriminated against race and their color of their skin is olive. It's not right then, and it's not right now. So my question is to this man of education, of high esteem, associate professor, I think they said his name was. My assistant professor, the School of Education. What makes him get away with that? What makes him think he can get away with that? Where are we as a society and as a civilization if we are still having to play over these same mistakes again and again? We're making it all throughout history. And look, we can't turn away from what happened all those years ago, but this is happening at a major education or university in the United States, Indiana University. The student filed a complaint against Kroom with IU's Office of Civil Rights Compliance shortly after the class concluded. Notice how students never filed the complaint while they're taking the course. You're giving this university tens of thousands of dollars per semester, upwards of sometimes, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to attend some of these schools. And students are still experiencing racism in 2024 in the United States of America. It's incomprehensible. Where are the cell phone videos of this? If it was the other way around, there'd be cell phone videos of it. We'd be all fired up over it. But white people are the joke of a lot of things right now. One of my guilty pleasures, if you don't know who Uncle Roger is, you should go look him up on YouTube. He's absolutely hilarious. But it's the way he makes fun of certain ethnicities and stuff. It's in our culture now. It's almost like it's okay to do that. And it's not. And if they're getting this kind of education in college, what does that make them when they go on after college, whether they go on to get a master's, a doctorate, or just join the workforce in general? They did try to up the discipline because it received a level 1, I guess, which is a level 1 sanction, which is the lowest sanction. But the provost went ahead and decided not to do that. The student was told that Kroom would receive a level 1 sanction and will have to attend a professional development training on inclusive teaching practices and respectful engagement with students of all backgrounds. Level 1 sanctions do not impact the instructor's job duties or salary, but can result in a periodic review and a letter in one's personal file. Well, that'll learn them. If this person, who's obviously a associate professor, is acting this way now at whatever age they're at, and he's a middle-aged black man, what kind of training is going to make him start thinking like a normal human being, where we are all born in the image of God, that we're all human beings and need to be treated as such, where it is expected that you treat people with kindness and observe the laws of the land, the laws of nature. We're not there as a society anymore. We might sit there and talk a good game. We might spit a good game, but we're definitely not there. This is another story that caught my eye. FBI searches home of Washington Post reporter in classified documents probe report. A court authorized a search warrant and executed Wednesday morning in Virginia at the home of Washington Post reporter Hannah Nadesan. And federal agents searched her home for electronic devices. Washington Post reporter supposedly having security documents. My question is what about the guy who reported instead of reported to officials that he was included in a signal that could have potentially contained secret information? How come he's not charged, and how come he's not being investigated? Again, this is just double standard here is pretty bad. And I'm not trying to give any leeway to the mainstream media, the establishment, if you will. But it almost seems like our legal system is just picking and choosing targets at will, Commander. I don't like this person, or this person has more of a problem than this problem. I mean, that's what made Rudy Giuliani such a great mayor in New York, right? He went after all the crime, especially the little stuff, not just the big stuff. It's not to say that he didn't go after the big stuff, he did. But our judicial system today, it just seems like it is not, it's not focused, it's not organized. And maybe in a year or two, I'll come back to the show and say, you know what, I was wrong there. And if I do have to do that, I will gladly do that. I will gladly do that. I'm going to try to get to one more story here before the break. And it is concerning my good friend, Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly has come out with a new video, ladies and gentlemen, new audio. And I hope he's got his sea lawyers ready. I'm excited to hear this. Before I hit play, I have to tell you, there he is standing with his Senate pin on in a nice suit, gray tie, blue suit, like a gray blue shirt. And off of his left shoulder is his military uniform. Now, I cannot tell if he's got his ribbons and medals in the right order. It's blurred out. But here's Mark Kelly.
Coming after what I earned through my 25 years of military service in violation of my rights as an American and as a retired veteran and as a United States Senator, whose job it is to hold him and this or any administration accountable. Every service member knows that military rank is earned.
Well, that's debatable too, because almost every military member here has a story of somebody who got promoted via a situation where he had no business or she had no business being promoted, but yet here we are.
It's not given. From the moment I drove through the gates of Naval Air Station Pensacola, to when I was shot at over Iraq and Kuwait, to when I landed Space Shuttle Endeavour on its last mission,
Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for your honorable service there.
I earned my rank of Captain, United States Navy.
Yep, you did. You earned captain. And that is a very prestigious rank. It's right below admiral. It's not quite there, but many people I know who retired as captains and colonels, very honorable service. And they're to be commended for it because not everybody gets there. I think it's like 3% of everybody who starts off gets to colonel, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody will correct me, but I think it's 3%.
Now, Pete Hegseth wants our longest serving military veterans to live with the constant threat that they could be deprived of their rank and pay years or even decades after they leave the military just because he or another Secretary of Defense doesn't like what they've said.
See, this is where he starts to fall apart. This is where he starts to fall apart because it's not that Secretary Hegseth doesn't like what you said. It's because you violated something called the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, long before Pete Hegseth was ever a thought in his parents' brains. This has been around for a long time. And Senator, Captain, retired, I'm respectfully saying to you, you went through TAP class. We went through this briefing over and over again, and you cannot say things as a retired military officer that are against good order and discipline. I can remember sitting in the TAP class in Tyndall Air Force Base saying, if I don't remember anything else, I'm going to remember this. So do I feel under threat that some Secretary of Defense is going to come after me? No. I support our military. I question sometimes what's going on in it, but I'd never go out and say the things he said. It's just absolutely absurd.
That's not the way things work in the United States of America.
But it is how it works for a retired captain from the United States Navy, honorably retired. And that's just the way it is. I know it's against your feelings and a lot of your supporters who are on their SSRIs, but that's just the law of the land, and you fall under that.
And I'm not going to stand for it. In 1986, at just 22 years old, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. I fulfilled that oath every day since.
Except when you came out and told active duty soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guardsmen, and Guardians to not follow or that you could not follow lawful orders that they might think are unlawful. When you came out with that video, Senator, you completely crossed that line of demarcation. And you've got some good sea lawyers right now giving you good advice. And that's how it always looks, too, when you're getting ready to go in. I've watched it happen 100 times. Getting ready to go into a captain's mass or a court martial, and sea lawyers got you all pumped up. And then you watch them come out of captain's mass, Article 15, captain or court martial, and they're either in chains and cuffs or they're looking all dejected because they just got slammed. Where are those sea lawyers now? I'm urging everybody who's honorably retired military officer, go back and think about your TAP class. Go back and look at that stuff. I still have it all at my house. Never going to say anything to undermine good order and discipline in the military.
But I never expected that I would have to defend it against a Secretary of Defense or a president. But
you mean we're not holding each other to the standard that we agreed to when we retired? We're not following the Uniform Code of Military Justice because we don't like what it says now? That's not how this works. And I'm telling you, this guy is going down in a bad way.
I've never backed down from a fight for our country, and I will not back down from this one.
And I think what's going to happen is this is going to be a wonderful case study about fooling around and finding out.
So today, I filed a lawsuit against the Secretary of Defense because there are few things as important as standing up for the rights of the very Americans who fought to defend our freedoms.
And we need those warriors out there. And I'm sure that you do try to take care of vets, but in this case, Senator, you are completely out of touch, and you've fallen woke to the woke mind virus, that mass formation psychosis. It's in your brain, and you need to expunge it. And man, listen to your attorneys and just shut up, because you're only digging yourself into a deeper hole. I went way long, but I wanted to talk about Mark Kelly, and I did. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Today I'm fighting back. Pete Hegseth is coming after what I earned through my 25 years of military service in violation of my rights as an American and as a retired veteran and as a United States Senator whose job it is to hold him and this or any administration accountable. Every service member knows that military rank is earned. It's not given. From the moment I drove through the gates of Naval Air Station Pensacola, to when I was shot at over Iraq and Kuwait, to when I landed Space Shuttle Endeavour on its last mission, I earned my rank of Captain, United States Navy. Now, Pete Hegseth wants our longest serving military veterans to live with the constant threat that they could be deprived of their rank and pay years or even decades after they leave the military just because he or another Secretary of Defense doesn't like what they've said. That's not the way things work in the United States of America, and I'm not going to stand for it. In 1986, at just 22 years old, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. I fulfilled that oath every day since, but I never expected that I would have to defend it against a secretary.
Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. You know, this show is all about talking about the truth and telling the truth. And when we make a tactical error, we make a tactical error. And I missed a tactical thing right here. So I want to go back to Mark Kelly real quick before we move on and talk about what he said right here.
But I never expected that I would have to defend it against a Secretary of Defense.
Wrong, and I didn't catch this, but the listener did. Unknown texter, thank you. It's not the Secretary of Defense, it's the Secretary of War. It's had a name change. Just like things change in the Navy, it's no longer a carrier battle group, it's a carrier strike group. It'll be something new, and I should know my terminology if I'm going to use it, and you should know it too, especially as a sitting U.S. Senator and an honorably retired United States Navy captain. We should know it's Secretary of War. I realize people make mistakes. I know some people still don't misidentify the Gulf of America. You know, good habits die hard. Wasn't the Secretary of Defense back in the day, but it's the Secretary of War now. And if you're addressing the nation, using your platform to address the nation, you think you get that right. And some people might say that's nitpicking, but that's what we do in the military. We hold each other to a different standard. And I'm grateful and thankful to all of you who hold me to a different standard. Thalia Mara Hall officially reopens after almost a year and a half of closure. And who's going to be the opening act? Miss Kamala Harris, the former vice president, former presidential nominee of the Democratic Party. Going to open it up. I was included in a text chain, or I saw it in a message. Tickets are really expensive to go see the former vice president. She's got to pay off that campaign debt somehow. It'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall in that conversation to see who's talking about what, how long she's actually going to speak for. It'd be great to be able to get like some audio from that. That would be pretty cool. There's really good stuff coming out of this though, because the hall, as many of you know, and me as a newcomer to Mississippi, this is a traditional landmark, historical landmark that has a lot of history. And when we can refurbish our history and bring it back into the 21st century, it's important. It's referred to as the cornerstone of art, music, and culture. The closure of the building was a loss to many. And this is coming from WLBT, by the way. And I'll quote him out when I get it all done talking about it. The dedication took place yesterday, Tuesday afternoon, when Thalia Maria Hall, and forgive me, me and names, closed. We lost our home, but we did not lose our heart or our commitment to providing access to all of the arts, Relly said. Today, we give our deepest thanks and to the city and leadership, to our state leaders, to Visit Jackson and the Convention Center for bringing us back home where we belong. And this is going to be awesome because there's so many conservatives who do not really understand the arts or like the arts. I grew up in a very liberal home where the arts were really appreciated, but I appreciated it come from the lone conservative black sheep in the family. Classical music, classical plays, going to see musicals, growing up in the show choir and competing for state championships back when I was a young teenager. To feel that kind of pressure and to be able to perform on a stage like that is absolutely spellbinding. And it's critical. And we need to hold on to our heritage. We need to hold on to our history, the good and the not so good. We don't want to repeat the not so good, so we remember it. The good, we want to remember that, so we repeat it. With new carpets, flooring, furniture, murals, and an HVAC system, plumbing, and more, Jackson Mayor John Horn tells us that the $7 million revitalization has addressed the major issues the building was facing. I wonder if there are still other issues inside the hall that we're not aware of. He shared his hopes with these significant upgrades showcase the capital city is rising. Man, we need Jackson to rise. There was a big announcement late Friday afternoon about something coming to the old abandoned mall, which truly don't think that's happening. But we need those types of investments where we can bring real businesses and real jobs back into Hinds County and the city of Jackson. It's our state's capital. You think about other capitals around the United States of America, Springfield, Illinois. I mean, people might think that Illinois is a dump, but man, the capital is nice. Whether it be other states like Florida, Texas, California, go to Sacramento, it's nice. We can't say that same thing about Mississippi, but what we can say is that the bones are in place. It's got great infrastructure ready to go to be revitalized. You've got good interstate access. You've got rail. And you've got a great economic environment outside of the actual city itself. You've got a great economic environment. How do we go ahead and get that economic environment into Jackson? I'm not going to be one of these people that sits here and just beats it down. I want to try to lift it up as much as I can. And I know that the current climate in Jackson is not the greatest, and it's quite poor. But that's our capital. We have to build it up. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. 2 hours just streams by so quickly. And there are all sorts of stories that I still haven't got to get to yet. The new CNN pollster, well, it's not the new CNN pollster, but he has a new piece out. And it's just absolutely devastating if you just look at it without critically thinking about it. It just looks absolutely devastating. But when you think about the world we live in and how the paradigm has shifted, and again, it's not like Elon Musk is this great bastion of conservatism. He's kind of a liberal dude, but he understands that the pendulum has swung so far to the left that it's making someone like him support someone like Donald J. Trump. And it's making someone look like Donald J. Trump, who is wildly outside the norm of what a conservative politician is. But conservatives look at him as someone who is so outside the norm that they feel that he's going to try to do what needs to be done. And let's look at all the positives that have happened under President Trump. We've taken back our country. We installed leaders, for the most part, in our major departments inside the U.S. government that are doing a good job. Outside of the DOJ, Scott Bassett at Treasury is doing a great job. Pete Hegseth, recruiting goals are through the roof. Our military, more and more young kids want to come in. And this is something, honestly, that I should probably talk about more in 2026, is young kids put down the Nintendos or the Switches or whatever the game console is now. Get offline, unplug, go play some sports, get dirty, get some grit on you. You don't need to go to the gym. Go do military calisthenics. I promise you, you do sit-ups, pull-ups, push-ups, leg lifts, planks, dips. You do those things right there, and you are going to be setting yourself up for success, whether you go into the military or not. You're going to be a much healthier person. You're going to be in a much better place. I sit there and I look at what Secretary Rubio's doing around the world and the things that are happening with him. He's got a lot of different hats on right now as we speak. Secretary Rubio, President Trump, and Denmark are in a closed doors meeting. What's to come out of it? I'm not a betting person, but if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that there's going to be some positive movement. And no one wants to be, quote unquote, hostily taken over. But if you go back to the NATO Charter and Treaty, the United States, we've implanted in there our right to go ahead and set up a base up there if we have to. Some people say, well, the logistics are wrong. The optics are wrong. Trump said some wrong words. Well, I know I say some wrong words sometimes. Please don't hold it against me. My heart is good. I'm sure there are a lot of us who sit there and look at stuff like that and say, yeah, you didn't say it quite right, especially in politics, local politics. You guys are best friends one day, and the next day someone has a little bit different view than you. Oh, I can't trust that person anymore. I'm done with them. It's all over. We got to get over that. We've got to get over that. Today is Wednesday. It's going to be a great evening. I'm going to spend it with my wife and daughter. Plans to get out of the house, off the farm for a little bit. Insurance adjuster came, not the insurance adjuster, but the person coming over to fix the barn came over yesterday. We've got a game plan. It's going to be a romantic trip with the Sweet Bee to the Home Depot and to the metal fabric store. We got to get some sheets of tin for the roof, get it replowed down. It's going to be a really good deal at the BA farm. I hope you all are accomplishing your goals that you set out for 2026. Keep that positive mental attitude going. Be an encourager, not someone who discourages. And realize that people are walking in different parts of life than you are. But you never know when you're going to get that chance to give somebody some positive encouragement, positive influence in their life. And that's where I'm striving for, and that's what I'm going for. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in 22 hours. Be blessed.